Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Hi there, and welcome to our highlights of the past week, which this time around happened to include the following stories. Murder They Wrote, why Scandinavian crime authors are so successful. Classical move, Lang Lang and the Berlin Philharmonic record an album. And Ice Queen, a guide in Norway, leads tourists around Europe's biggest glacier. Well, the Premium Imperiale is often referred to as the Nobel Prize for the Arts. It was created in 1989 by the Japanese royal family to award lifetime achievement in the fields that the Nobel overlooks, namely painting, sculpture, music, architecture, and theatre and film. Well, worth about €112,000. It's a very big deal for the recipients. And this year's Britain's Antony Gormley took the honours for sculpture.
Sculptures that represent individuals, installations that make people the point of focus, or alternatively allow them a bit of self-reflection. This is Antony Gormley's art. Gormley has been awarded the Premium Imperiale, which is presented by the Japanese royal family, in honor of his life's work. It's one of the world's most important arts prizes.
Any form of recognition is wonderful. Any form of encouragement is wonderful. But this comes from a special place on the face of this earth, and indeed from rather a special person, since the emperor is partially divine.
63-year-old Gormley lives and works in London. He studied art at Goldsmiths College here in the 1970s, and soon began to specialize in sculpture.
Sculpture was the biggest challenge. It was not about making pictures of things, it was about making things. It wasn't about making a representation of the world, but about provoking the world by putting something in it that wasn't there before. And that seemed to me to be both a more exciting intellectual project, but also a more exciting physical one.
One of his most spectacular projects was unveiled in 2010, Horizon Field. The artist had 100 cast iron figures installed across the Austrian Alps, life-size casts of his own body. The choice of unusual location is typical for Gormley.
For many people, the natural home for a work of art is in a museum. Well, that's a strangely limbo land for art. In my view, art ought to be just part of life.
And precisely that has happened in London, where Gormley's installations are part of the cityscape. Whether as a useful object in front of the British Library, or as a point of reflection amid the hustle and bustle of the financial district. It's art without museums or explanatory labels. You need to discover it yourself.
If it is out on the street, you'll reach people who aren't necessarily seeking it out and provoke a reaction from them.
The pieces are so close to people because they're about the size of an average person. So somehow that makes them very accessible.
Accessible in a very different way. That was the goal for Horizon Field Hamburg. It was a free swinging level in one of Hamburg's Deichtorhallen, and it was on exhibit last year. Visitors set the mirrored surface in motion by walking on it, thus themselves becoming part of the installation.
The life that comes to occupy this opportunity is the work, not the piece itself. You could say that without people, art is nothing. Art is about sharing.
The first people the sculptor shares his plans with are the staff at his studio in London. The building was designed by British architect David Chipperfield.
Now, every time I walk in through that door, I think, this is just magic, that we can have a place in central London where You can put 50 tons down anywhere.
The work continues. Gormley may now have won one of the world's most prestigious art awards, the Premium Imperiale, but that doesn't mean he's successful in his own eyes.
Success. What does success mean? Success, really for me, is only measurable in the ability of a silent, still object to touch somebody. And in the end, I will never know how successful or unsuccessful I have been.
Antony Gormley's sculptures depict people. His art aims to illustrate how it feels to be a human being.
Long, cold winters, brooding landscapes and stoic, often troubled investigators. Those are the key ingredients for a good Scandinavian crime novel. And books by authors like Henning Mankell and Håkon Nesser literally fly off the shelves. Well, you see, Adler Olsen of Denmark is carrying on in that grisly tradition, and he drew an impressive crowd at the Frankfurt Book Fair.
Jussi Adler Olsen is riding high. The 63-year-old Danish author is one of Scandinavia's top mystery writers. Everywhere he goes, whether at home or abroad, he draws a crowd. Like here at the Frankfurt Book Fair. He's a rock star of the literary world.
I like it. I like to be, on the level with my readers. This is what I'm aiming for. To be in bed with the readers when I'm writing in the night time, and to be close to them when they are here.
His latest novel was published in Denmark last year. The German translation has been out for a month and is already a bestseller. It's the 5th book in his series featuring Copenhagen police detective Carl Mørk. Set in Uganda and Copenhagen, it's a dark exploration of the underbelly of international aid and corruption in high places, told through the story of Marco, a young Roma boy who discovers a murder and becomes a target himself.
Day and night, I was Marco. And being Marco and running away, all the time being chased by people that want to kill him, I felt it really on my back. So every time I was in the open, right, okay, I escaped, they were there again. And therefore it's a little long, about chasing. And therefore it is actually, I'm closer to this book than I meant to be.
The first book in the series was published in 2007. Since then, Adler Olsen has gone on to write 4 more installments featuring Mørk and his detective squad. The books have appeared in 36 countries. Each German edition has been a bestseller. They've sold millions of copies in total.
You can't enter the best-selling list very easily in countries where they speak English only, because they prefer their own. But here, in Germany, all of us are competing on the same level. Same best-selling list for everyone throughout the world. And if you can enter that, you actually can enter the whole world.
The worldwide boom got its start with Swedish author Henning Mankell in the 1990s. His thrillers took on weighty topics like Africa, politics and xenophobia at home. He was followed by many more, like Lisa Marklund. Another Swedish star was Stig Larsson, who died in 2004. Nowadays, Scandinavian crime fiction is the hottest game in town. Tobias Gorlis is a journalist, book critic and member of the jury for the German Crime Fiction Award. He keeps a close eye on the trends.
In a sense, these Scandinavian novels are like a mirror for European and German readers. The Scandinavians feel certain things more keenly than we do. The countries, the societies, actually have more security than we do here. So they respond hysterically when this security is threatened. Their writing takes on this collective fear, this sense of anxiety, which exists here too, in dramatic form.
Scandinavia may present an unruffled surface to the casual observer, but underneath it's teeming with bleak plot lines and angst-ridden protagonists. Nordic noir, where little is what it seems.
Germans feel an affinity with the Scandinavians and are fascinated by their society. Their crime novels tend to focus on social issues. It's often said that crime novels have replaced regular fiction as a genre in terms of observing society.
This latest installment won't be the last. Adler Olsen is planning another 5 books in his Department Q series. And even in Germany, Jussi Adler Olsen enjoys giving a reading in the original Danish. He's a born entertainer, in real life and on the page.
Well, this past week, DW was proud to present another top-notch music documentary, and it explores a collaboration that is so charged with energy it almost gives off sparks. The world-famous Berlin Philharmonic, with conductor Sir Simon Rattle, teamed up with Chinese superstar pianist Lang Lang for a couple of landmark recordings. And our very own Christian Berger got the story on film, which premiered here in Berlin.
Spring 2013. The famous Berliner Philharmonic Concert Hall hosts a top-caliber international summit of classical music. Chinese pianist Lang Lang has teamed up with the Berlin Philharmonic Orchestra and its conductor Sir Simon Rattle for their first joint recording. The stars aren't bothered by the cameras.
I'm actually used to it, because I do a lot of documentary films year-round, and I actually like to deliver some ideas while I'm making the recording. So for me, it's kind of a fun thing to do.
The result was the hour-long documentary The Highest Level. Lang Lang returned to Berlin for the premiere.
Hey, how are you, Peter?
The Highest Level is the third film about classical music by DW's Christian Berger.
Lang Lang is a very professional musician, an artist that knows exactly what he wants, but he still gave us a lot of leeway. He had confidence in us and gave us a glimpse of his personal life, and he spoke with us very openly about music, which was also very nice.
The premiere was attended by about 500 classical music fans. DW, as co-producer, played a major role in producing the documentary. Films about music are a speciality of the network.
Presenting classical music from Germany, from Europe, is one of our core tasks. This was a great project with artists like Lang Lang and Simon Rattle. It was a really big catch, and I'm delighted that a fantastic production like this will be broadcast on DW soon, on the network and online. It makes me proud that we achieved this.
For DW, it's always interesting when we can engage in a dialogue. We like to see how the rest of the world engages with Germany, and we engage with them. This project gave us Lang Lang from China, in collaboration with Simon Rattle from Britain, with the Philharmonic in Berlin, an international orchestra. That's typical of DW, and a perfect topic for us.
The film depicts the process of recording 2 pioneering works of the 20th century, Piano Concerto No. 3 by Russian composer Sergei Prokofiev and Piano Concerto No. 2 by his Hungarian contemporary Béla Bartók.
Let's just do a take, shall we? And we see what... Yeah, so...
It was very musical clips, and also it was a real good documentary. There are a lot of comments from different parts of the teammates for this project. I think will be very helpful to people who don't know so much about how we're making recordings. And this is a real teamwork to make the best we can.
The CD is already out. The film will be released on DVD and Blu-ray in early November. You can tune in to DW on November the 30th to see the documentary in German, English, Spanish or Arabic.
Well, every year in October, Berlin hosts a 2-week-long festival of lights that floods the city's monuments and buildings in color and light after sundown. Theresa Mahr is an Austrian light artist from Vienna who's now a veteran at this event, and our reporter caught up with her to see what she had in store for the German capital this year.
Theresa Mahr at the dress rehearsal, the evening before the Festival of Lights opens. It's only when the slides are projected onto the building that the artist knows if all the months of work have paid off.
Wow, looks great. It's there for the first time and it's totally new for me. A big surprise.
Mahr has completed 8 light collages for the Palais am Festungsgraben in central Berlin. She wants her work, called Prisma, to change the perception of the building.
The substance of my work begins with white light. When it falls on raindrops, you have a rainbow. It makes you want to look twice, and that's how it is with this building. This projection will certainly make Berliners look at it closely.
Theresa Mahr works intuitively. She says her images fit together like a puzzle. First, she creates a collage from 200 to 300 paper snippets that she's cut out of magazines. The finished image is scanned. She then edits and processes it on her computer till she's satisfied. Theresa Mahr says she is a painter who uses different ways to present her art. Her canvas involves public spaces and buildings, which she paints in bright colors.
You obviously have to have a talent and drive in implementing things. Without it, you can't have a profession like this. I can imagine how an image can appear in a larger dimension.
Mahr presented her first work in Vienna in 2006. Her international breakthrough came at the Glow Lights Festival in the Netherlands in 2010. A year later, she brightened up Berlin Cathedral at the Festival of Lights. In 2012, her installation Sinfonia lit up the Konzerthaus at Berlin's Gendarmenmarkt. This year, her images can be seen on 2 buildings. Together with other artists, Theresa Mahr has once again illuminated Berlin Cathedral.
Berlin has huge buildings and sprawling squares. This city has a feel for space. It's perfect for a light projection.
The Festival of Lights is to brighten the German capital for 12 nights. Famous artworks give a new look to Potsdamer Platz. The Brandenburg Gate has huge 3-dimensional images known as video mappings. And the facade of the Hotel de Rome boasts some old masters. The Lights Festival has already become a tourist magnet. Organizers expect around 2 million visitors.
Gorgeous colors.
Amazing.
It changes the building's character and makes it more cheerful.
Looks very spectacular now. Rainbow colors everywhere.
I simply like it when you see so many lights and colors in the night. You don't notice that it's cold and windy and that it's autumn.
These light images are like snapshots. For Theresa Mahr, it's part of her concept. She wants viewers to reflect for a moment and keep the image in their memories.
The next thing is I'll be illuminating the Hermitage in Amsterdam. That's a 100-meter-long facade, and I'll be using a moving image. And then we'll see if I'm back in Berlin next year. And otherwise, there are a few buildings in the world that fascinate me and draw me, and that I would like to illuminate someday.
One of her dreams is to light up the Philharmonic in Luxembourg and to bring art to the streets there too. The Festival of Lights does add a splash of colour to Berlin's autumn nights.
Well, its ice is almost twice as thick as the Eiffel Tower is high, the monumental Jostedal Glacier in Norway. And with a surface area of almost 500 square kilometers, it's the largest glacier on continental Europe. Now, as you can see here, it drapes itself over 3 large fjords in southwestern Norway, about 300 kilometers northeast of Bergen. And it's one of that area's major tourist attractions. And we met the only woman who can take you across it.
The Norwegian glacier Jostedalsbreen is a colossus of snow and ice. It's the star attraction here in Jostedal Valley. Heidi Zimmermann, who originally hails from Switzerland, has been working here since 1990, guiding people around continental Europe's largest glacier.
My name is Heidi, and I wish you all welcome. On the glacier, it will come one more guide. His name is Arno.
The tour kicks off with a 30-minute boat trip across the glacial lake. A chance for the group to catch their breath ahead of the ascent to Nigardsbreen, a side arm of Jostedalsbreen.
You see those people, those tiny dots up there? We'll be going higher than them. You see that ridge which crosses the valley? We'll be going about as far as that.
Each year, Heidi takes about 10,000 people on tours around the glacier. Today's group is an international bunch. As well as Norwegians, there are Australian, Dutch, and German tourists. Ice climbing is a popular pastime, but that's nothing new. The first Norwegian mountaineers ventured out onto the Jostedalsbreen in 1880. Their equipment was pretty basic: a canvas rucksack, a stick, and light cotton clothing. But they approached the endeavor in a very similar manner: roped together in a group.
And of course, I will check everything. Safety is very important, but I will not check before I put you in rope, because then I have control, that I can check everyone.
Heidi knows exactly what to look out for. Mountaineering is her passion. In Switzerland, she was the second woman to become a certified mountain guide. She's a pioneering figure in Norway, too, the only female mountain guide in the whole country. And even after 23 years, she says she never gets bored on the Jostedalsbreen.
Conditions change every day on the glacier. It moves up to a meter a day. It can be transformed in a week. It's always a challenge to find a new path. I like having to constantly respond to new people. You can do more with some than with others.
The day tour lasts 5 hours and ends at a very special place. At the foot of the glacier, where water rushes into the valley at 10,000 liters a second. It's a beautiful but treacherous spot.
It's a wonderful blue color, and so people are tempted to go very close. But if that breaks away, it'll dam up the whole river. That will cause a huge flood wave capable of washing people away. So I see it as the most dangerous place of any glacier, much more dangerous than crevasses.
As soon as she's back in Jostedal Valley, Heidi heads off to the mountains again. This time, she's accompanied by her dogs. The mountains are her refuge.
Of course, climbing on your own is different than when you are responsible for other people. You don't have to make concessions. You can choose your own company. So I go on more difficult tours than I would with visitors. I love being in the mountains more than anywhere else.
Zum liebsten bin ich nun mal in den Bergen.
And in a way, that's hardly surprising. for someone whose name is Heidi and who comes from the Swiss Alps.
And that brings us to the end of this edition of our Euromaxx Highlights. I hope you enjoyed it, and until we meet again, all the best from us here in Berlin. Tschüss und auf Wiedersehen.